Hey, Leonardo, for this week's topic, I think you're going to have fun with this one.
Okay.
So let me share something. So this part of the year is interesting because if you grew up Latino, there is a number of things that you have to pay attention. One is Ash Wednesday would be tomorrow, and Lent starts, and there is a bunch of messages I'm getting from family back home about of course, the next 30, 40 days, I think is, where we have to abstain about something. Now, I've been here for 23 years, so there is a little bit of choice on my end that I can get away with. But I wanted to talk to you about something today, which is what it's like growing up Latino. And I actually came up with a laundry list of things that I would love to hear from you, and probably people listening to us will get a kick out of it. Just growing up Latino, what are the things that makes us stand out from the crowd? And, there is a feeling when I walk in a room and I look at somebody Latino, it's like, yep, you get me and I get you. And there is a reason for that. And I wanted to kind of check in into some of the things. For example, some of the lists that I have today is the power of the mother, of the Latino guilt, and the incredible place that we put our mothers and the power they have over us, even far, far, far away. And also one says about siblings and los hermanos mayores, also have the discipline routines that stare the moms have to you when they say when we get home. One thing that I thought about is never ending cleaning in the house. That's finish breakfast and they continue to clean and clean and clean, and then you finish lunch and then clean. Going to misa, which is something I would love to talk about, what it means to us going to misa. Cleaning and music all in one is a party when you clean, and that's something that I think no matter where you live. Home remedies, nicknames, people showing up at your house unannounced, the expectation of privacy does not exist, and los tíos, los abuelos, and every time you have to say bye and hello, and the telenovelas, the soap operas, and of course, if you don't dance, there is no party, and social life, which I think includes a hospital visit most of the time, and the sexism that runs into the Latino families. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that stuff sounds great. It's a mouthful. We're just kind of running through the Latino stereotypes here, and the true Latino stereotypes in many families. That is, not everybody's family is the same, but as we go through this conversation, I bet we'll find a lot more in common with each other than we thought. And it's funny because, some friends may say, hey, my family's from here. This is how we behave and this is how we act. And I'll say, well, my family's from here. And they behave in the same exact way. I think there's a lot in Latino culture that transcends the different country or the borders, the different countries' borders, and makes us a lot more alike. And before we continue our conversation, let's take a quick break.
LatinX Point of View is brought to you by Civic Canvas, a bilingual boutique firm designing strategies for social change. To learn more at civiccanvas.com. While we grew up in different countries with different things, it is so interesting that we have that one thing in common, and that it just kind of runs into the culture. And it's hard to explain to someone that, didn't grow up near Latinos, because sometimes we don't even know what they are. What are the things that we say we Latinos, but what is that we all have a mom in common that give us, fusses at us for about an hour at a time?
That's the mother's power. That's the mother's tool of choice in many Latino households to get what they want done. Ay, nunca me van a hacer una abuela. ¿Cuándo se van a casar mis hijos? And it's just those types of things. That's that first layer of Latino guilt. And if you are in agreement with me, and if you're listening out there, please give me a clap. Because if you know what I'm talking about, clap it up for us, because we've all survived it.
We all survived it. It's so interesting. I was watching videos, and all this came clear to me once I left Costa Rica, and I started interacting with people from different countries, and they were running at this video of Latino moms, and I thought, wow, do they really go like a school to get the script on? Cuando yo me muera, usted va a llorar en mi tumba. Then you're going to regret it because you're such a bad son and such a bad daughter.
Gina, I am nodding my head as you're saying this, and all the things that keep popping up in my head. It's kind of like my mom would lay the guilt down without us even knowing. I remember when I was a kid going to elementary school and her driving us to school, and we would pass by a high school. And of course, high school starts before elementary school. And you would see kids like crossing the street to like skip school, and my mom would be like, oh, if I ever caught you skipping school, you'd break my heart. And then we'd see the kids like smoking cigarettes. Oh, if I ever saw you smoking cigarettes, you'd break my heart. To be honest with you, the first time I skipped school, I felt bad. That guilt, to this day, I've never tried a cigarette. That Latino mother's guilt is real. Wow. It is real.
It's interesting because I see all these marketing companies and big organizations doing a marketing campaign to do prevention. Listen, my mom got the prevention part down. That Facts. She knows exactly how to prevent something. It was crazy how many things I had to consider every single time. It's like, bueno, primero, si la ve su tío. If you're always being watched by a family member, no matter where you go, particularly in a small town in Costa Rica, if you go, there's always someone watching. So she had to make sure we were dressed up the way we were supposed to, everything clean, everything, because we're representing her at all times. Sure. So she would make sure. And maybe this is a big difference between other cultures, perhaps, or not, where you are representing your mom anywhere you go, mm-hmm. and that means that's a lot of responsibility, which I still felt when I came here, but I still, I haven't divorced. I still represent my mom.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because families can be different things to different people. So, for example, you talked about growing up in your country and you had your tios and your tias, your abuelos, and everybody around you. In my household, growing up in Miami, it was just, my immediate family, and we had a few cousins here and there, but it was like nobody that was consistently there. But we lived in a predominantly Latino African American neighborhood. And as Latinos kind of, from different countries, we kind of get together sometimes and we meet each other and we grow with each other and we become families within ourselves. So there was a family structure within the neighborhood from different moms. So, my neighbor across the street, Eddie, she saw us in the streets. She knows she can come and grab us by the ear and take us inside if she saw us doing something wrong. If Nelly next door to her saw us doing something wrong, she knew she could pick up a stick and whack us, and my mom wasn't going to say anything because she'd bring us to the house and tell her what she saw. It's funny when I started reflecting back when you were talking about your immediate family and how here in the U.S., my family had to adapt with other Latino families to kind of forge, these other kind of families. And to this day, They are my family. They're cousins. We consider them cousins. And and when I introduce them to folks, it's like, that's my cousin, or that's my extended mom, yes. That's my second mom, that's my third mom, or whatever. That was the neighborhood that we kind of grew up in. And
yes, and so you were never able to really misbehave.
No,
because they were always watching. And to me, there is something about our hierarchy in the Latino culture, which is how we looked up authority. And authority is not a negotiable thing; is a fact.
Sure.
So if your mom is talking, you better stay quiet. If your hermano mayor or hermana mayor is talking, you better be quiet. And interesting enough to me, how people here just have this very egalitarian way of in their families, and to me, like, no, if my sister is talking, if she can tell me what to do any day of the week.
Yeah, no, and it's funny. My earliest memory of being a big brother was getting scolded for my brother messing with one of my stuff. My mom's freaking out because my little brother's foot is stuck in my He-Man Castle Grayskull, and she's blaming me for him having his foot stuck in my Castle Grayskull. And I'm like, how was I supposed to be, responsible for that? And that was kind of like my first lesson in being an older brother. Like, I'm responsible for him even though I wasn't home. So that hierarchy that you were talking about, it's real. It exists. I remember anytime we were going out somewhere, look after your brother, stuff like that. It was that.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you were an older brother. I was the last one, and I got to do everything that my brothers and sisters didn't want to do. Like go into the store and do the errands and pick up this and pick up that because I was the little one. So I was expendable in the household. To me, it's interesting. Those things, it's not that they are absent in other cultures, it's that it's highly marked in our, and no matter if you move from one family to another, you know that there is a hierarchy. Either, of course, it starts with la abuela, and that's the ultimate, and everybody follows the abuela. The abuelos are like there, but the la abuela is the command, and then it keeps going with the mom, and the dad also has like an authority, but if he opens his mouth, you are in true trouble. Mm-hmm. Then when you get to the siblings, they are always, and which is lovely to know that when you have someone, there is an expectation of people who are older than you will take care of you when you're growing up. And, when it switches up is when you become an adult and you are taking care of the people who take care of you growing up. How about we go ahead and take a break and we'll come back with this really cool topic.
That segment of the LatinX Point of View podcast was brought to you by L5 Consultants, a company committed to helping bridge cultural differences. You can find them on Twitter at L5 Consultants or on the web at l5online.com. Gina, as we transition back, I'm kind of looking at the list that we kind of laid out before, and I don't think we're going to get through all these in a 30-minute podcast, but I do invite our listening audience to tweet us at LatinX POV. If you've run into any of these things, if you know what the Latino mother's guilt is, or if you have a certain guilt within your culture, please, I want to hear from people from other cultures too. If there are similarities in what Gina and I have experienced in our Latino households with your culture, I would love to see some comments on that. So please do so. And as we kind of get back into the conversation, I was looking at the no privacy. Have you ever had some of those issues in translating from Costa Rica to the U.S.?
Oh, you bet. I grew up with no privacy whatsoever. Always had people, cousins, tias, where actually they came for a full day. It wasn't just like an hour visit like here. It is a full day, spend with you breakfast, dinner, lunch and dinner, and have coffee, and all of a sudden, your day is gone. You don't have freedom. Yeah. And of course, it's all about checking in and knowing what's up with the family and a little bit of gossip here and there. Here is just so different. Being here so many years after, and I'm washing my car, and one of my Tico friends pulls in, and I just looked at him like, what happened? Did someone die? And he said, no, I was just in the neighborhood. I'm like, what happened to you? You've been in the United States and you are just showing up at my house. You know that that's against the rules here. But he was like, no, what's wrong with you? Are you thinking you're too much now? I said, no, it's just the expectation of privacy, or the expectation of you get a phone call before someone shows up at your door. But this expectation of privacy goes actually even farther to say los diarios, or to have your puerta cerrada, or like I see in the movies here, the kids go and slam the door to their parents, or the parents knock at the door and say, hey sweetie, it's time for dinner. I'm like, no, what's not even near how I grew up.
A closed door in my household, and my mom would just come and open the door. Ajá, ¿y por qué está la puerta cerrada? It was it was one of those types of things. It was like, I don't know. I just didn't want to hear you talking on the phone. I didn't want to hear the TV in the living room on. I just wanted to kind of do my own thing in my own room. Like, nope, puerta abierta. I was like, all right.
It's like an open door policy.
Yeah,
if you close this because you're hiding something, and then you have to go confess, and then you have to go to misa so you can actually confess what you did.
And it's funny how all that to me is tied back to Latin guilt.
It is.
It all kind of just intertwines with one another. But to be honest with you, one of my fondest memories that I can remember as a kid is sitting around the TV and maybe either watching a novela with my mom, or even Sábado Gigante. Sábado Gigante was a big thing in my household.
Yeah.
Especially when my grandmother got sick, my dad, he built an extension, another room with its own private bathroom and stuff like that. And we would all go into my abuela's room, and we would sit there and watch Sábado Gigante with her. And I remember because, after Sábado Gigante, you'd see the lotto numbers. So it was like an exciting time, And it's like, okay, are we going to be millionaires this week? Crossing fingers. Yeah. So it was a really cool time where we got to spend as a family. My brother and I would be playing with our, toys there on the floor, but kind of paying attention to the TV at the same time. My grandma's sitting there in her wheelchair, and my parents were just in the room together. So it was a special time that I can reflect back and say, man, all five of us were kind kind of like in the room at the same time. And I don't know how common that is in today's society.
The storytelling of Latinos in soap opera style, which for us is I think is embedded into our culture and how unique is food, music, and of course telenovelas and soap operas, because that was the one thing I particularly, I have to declare I'm a Generation X, so soap operas were the thing you did after 6 o'clock in the evening, and